Okay, so today I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of shift over to type 3. So we're going to do 3 with 2 versus 3 with 4. As usual, I'm just using something else that's been written, and I'm just going to kind of like assess it for you guys and kind of build my material from there. So, yeah. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll just jump right in. Yeah. Okay, so for starters, a 3 with a 2 wing, it says threes with 2 wings are far more sensitive to the feelings of others. That's really true. Yeah, it really is. So this may have something to do with it. It's been my experience that when a 3 has a 2 wing, they they're almost like activists. In some form or fashion. They tend to use threes. And I know I haven't done my introduction to 3 video yet, but I will get there. But I'm just saying that threes are those people that it's like everything that they touch turns to gold. They just excel at everything. They can talk their way into anything. If they set their goal on earning a certain amount of money, they meet it and oftentimes even exceed that. They've just got ridiculous amounts of talent, and they tend to be like just real intuitively aware of the talent that they do have and how to exploit that to get them what they want. So they're just people that are their gift. One of their gifts is making life work for them. And when you have somebody like that, and they have a 2 wing, they do. My experience has been, I believe this is correct, because my experience has been that they tend to want to harness all of that life-changing energy that they have, that ability to just make things work for them. It's like they want to harness all of that, and they want to use it for the good of other people. Now, I will say, they, their charitable work doesn't seem to be, well, let me feed the hungry, let me give clothes to homeless people, let me, advocate for children that can't speak for themselves, you know, um, things of that nature. They don't tend to, excuse me, they don't tend to think around those lines. So when a 3 has a 2 wing and they're using all of that life harnessing energy and they're wanting to do it to help other people, in the mind of a 3, the way that you help somebody else is that you help them to become the best that they can be. Because that's what a 3 is always trying to do in some form or fashion, or another. So it's been my experience that when a 3 is doing those sorts of things, they're doing things like, well, it's kind of like this. So the 3 could be like, well, I'm the best student in the class. I have straight A's. The teacher loves me. Why don't I start like a tutoring study group, and I'll teach all the other people, my method for studying and why I'm so successful, and then they can learn how to be that successful too. It could be something like, well, I have all this money, and I have, I've, been fortunate enough to afford all of these really nice things, but my very best friend can't afford the nice things that I can. So why don't I just kind of give her some of this stuff that I don't wear very often, so she can have like some nice label things. Just thoughts like that. Do you know what I mean? And those are just a few examples, like minute. So, I mean, it comes in just like every form and fashion. A 3 could just be somebody that says, um, a 3 with a 2 wing could be somebody that says, um, I'm the top performer at work. I follow all of the rules. I know all of the policies by heart. I've got them memorized. These other people are getting in trouble for like really small things that they shouldn't be getting in trouble for. Why don't I go pull them aside and just offer them some help and see if they want it? Because I can maybe give them some tricks to learn all the policies, and I can explain to them like what like all these supervisors over here are expecting and what they're looking for, and I can give them some kind of tips on how to just fall in line with that so that they can be successful here too. Um, so, I mean, that's just another example. It displays itself in a lot of different ways, is the point that I'm trying to make. So, Excuse me. So 3 with 2s tend to display that caring for other people in that way. And that's also how they display their generosity as well. Excuse me, my allergies are still really bad. Because in the mind of a 3, a 3 with a 2 wing, that is generosity. And generosity is something that they tend to be more concerned about than a 3 with a 4 wing. Yeah, it tends to be. Or, another example that just came to me, this is a really good example, is 3s will use their success. They will use, like, the plight of someone else as just further fuel for their fire, for their ambition to be successful. So a 3 could say, let's think of an example. I really want to, the 3 may say, a female 3, she could say, this is a random example. My examples are terrible, so just be creative. A female 3 with a 2 wing could get up one day and say, there's all these women in the world, and they've just got terrible body image, and they hate the way that they look, and we're holding ourselves to this standard that, is just making women feel like they're ugly when they're really not ugly. You know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get in some kind of position, like, I don't know what I'll do, but I'll be famous, or maybe I'll audition and become like an NFL cheerleader, or maybe I'll aspire to be an actress, or maybe I'll be like a famous writer for like a magazine or something. I'll get in some kind of a place where I've got a platform and where I'm noticed, and I'm going to use that to encourage women to just be who they are. And okay, that's an example. Do you see what I'm saying? So sometimes it's, how can I harness my success to show other people that they can be successful? That is very 3 with 2, right? Okay, so I feel like I've made that point. 3 with 4s, on the other hand, at least in this respect, their focus is, and again, oh no, I know what I wanted to tell you. 3 with 2, I did want to give you this example. My most favorite example ever of a 3 with a 2 wing is Tyra Banks. If I say Tyra Banks, most of you probably know who that is. If you don't, she was way back in the day, like 90s, I'm pretty sure. She was a Victoria's Secret supermodel, and she was, in the commercials and the magazines and all of that stuff. And then she, most of you probably know that name because there was a television series that was on for many, many years. I don't believe it's airing anymore. It's called America's Next Top Model, and Tyra Banks was the host of that show. I don't think I have any pictures of her. I may. I'm going to see, actually, if I do, and then I can show you a picture. I don't know if you'll be able to see on my phone really well, but we're going to try. Tyra Banks. She is a 3 with a 2 wing. Oh, look at these photos. You can get photos of her, like, super easy. So this is like a supermodel, scantily clad photo. So I don't know if you can see. Maybe you can. I don't know if you can see it very well or not. But anyways, that's her. She's a 3 with a 2 wing, and that was a terrible photo. So now I know that I can't do that anymore because that just didn't come up very clear at all. Sorry. You're just going to have to Google Tyra Banks. Anyways, so she's a 3 with a 2 wing. If you really just kind of want to watch 3 with 2 in action, I would strongly advise you to sit down and go through maybe a season or 2 of America's Next Top Model. I mean, it's just disgustingly dramatic for me. I never could sit through an episode because just the drama for the sake of drama makes me go insane. But there are just like some really good moments in there, like when she comes into the house to coach the girls that are there, like the new and the upcoming models that are competing to win this modeling competition. She'll come in and she'll coach them, and they film all of that, and those moments are the best. They're the best moments. And like, at the end of the shows where they got to go and show all their photos, and she's like one of the judges. Like, she gives a lot of feedback, and just even her feedback is very 3 with 2 feedback, and just the manner with which she communicates. I'm also pretty sure she's an ENFJ, so I mean, that plays a role in it as well. But she's a 3 with a 2 wing for sure, for sure. So she's a good example. She's my favorite example. Anytime anyone asks me what is a good example of a 3 with a 2 wing, I always say Tyra Banks, America's Next Top Model. Watch a couple seasons. If you don't get it after that, you're just not going to get it. It's my opinion. So 3 with 4, on the other hand, just in comparison to that, they don't have this inward desire to be generous towards other people. They don't have the inward desire to take their successes and use that as a platform for other people. A 3 with a 4 wing is more concerned with self-expression. They're in it to win it. They want to win so that they can be the winner. They want to, everything that they do is for the betterment of self. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? So they're just more self-focused, and I'm not making any shaming statements about them. And I know people hear stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're saying all this mean stuff about them," and I'm not. I'm just making a factual statement. This is how it is. There are many benefits to that, and there are very many places in life where that type of thinking is necessary. So it's not necessarily a bad thing at all. But anyways, they're just more about self-expression and about setting themselves apart. Their goal is to make sure that you understand that they aren't like you. They are better than you, and they're different than you, and they're just kind of this unique, special, awesome superstar person, and you are so lucky if you have them in your lives. And I know for a fact that for many 3s who have 4 wings, thoughts like that are not conscious thoughts. They're just desires and their internal beliefs and their goals, I think, that they are unconsciously aspiring for on a day-to-day basis, perhaps without realizing that they're doing it. So, and actually, to that effect, when you're a 3 and you have a 2 wing, when you're aspiring to become so successful and you're so competitive and you're trying to place yourself at the top of an industry or at the top of whatever, and you're trying to grab, like, the underdog, the underfortunate, the unfortunate, whoever it is, with you so that they can benefit off of your platform because you want to help them, that too is a very unconscious thing. It's a good thing in many cases, just like it's a good thing to be a 3 with a 4 wing. However, it is not always a good thing. It's not always a good thing. It really isn't. So, and even with that being said, I've known some 3s with a 4 wing that they were generous people. They became successful and wanted to use their success to help other people. But at the end of the day, it's like when a 3 with a 2 wing gets successful and they use their success to help other people, it's like they can do that and then they can let it go. Do you know what I mean? It seems like there's less ego attachment to the end result there. The 3s that I know who have 4 wings that do that, it's like they get real successful, then they let other people kind of piggyback on their platform, and then they're like, oh, look at me, I'm so awesome because I'm letting these unfortunate people piggyback off my success, and I didn't have to do that. I'm great. This is why I'm awesome. This is why I'm cool. Kind of a thing. But again, even then, I can think of I have a brother-in-law that's a 3 with a 4 wing, and he is just, but he's like a fairly, he was just raised right. I mean, he really was. He was just raised right, and he has got so much of God's heart inside of his own heart, and he's always trying to display that to other people in a very competitive fashion. So, but anyways, he's a 3 with a 4 wing, and he really is just he just spends his days like building his own ego. Like that's what works for him, and that's kind of the thing that he's seeking to do. But even for a 3 with a 4 wing, if anybody in the world came up to him and asked and said, "Hey, you have all of this stuff. I want to be like you. Can you help me?" He will drop everything and just say, "Absolutely. Like, let me tell you how I got this successful with this. Let me tell you why I excel here. I have all these little." He's also an INTP, so he has like all of these like bizarre little like tricks and stuff that he will do to like play the system and cut corners and figure out how to put himself above other people in a variety of different ways, both in performances and intellectually as well. So he's really, really sharp, and he's always wanting to show other people how to think differently, how to think in a more creative way, how to think outside of the box so that they can bypass all of this extra crap that holds them back, and so that they can be as successful as he is, because that is, by and large, how he's made his success. So there's a little bit there. But again, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he was raised right, and he was raised to understand the heart of God and the generosity of God. Because when you're raised and you understand that, I don't care what your Enneagram type is, those things are going to start to come out because you were raised that way and you understand that those are fundamental truths. Most people are not raised that way anymore, least of all in the United States of America. So we tend to be more stuck in our rudimentary personality here. I'm pretty sure people are just stuck in rudimentary personality the majority of the time everywhere, but the point that I'm trying to make is anytime you get anywhere and there are people there that actually know God as he really is and not how humans portray him to be, you will find that you'll have Enneagram types. There are people that are just so healthy you almost can't even figure out what their Enneagram type is because they're so well integrated across the board. He's a good example of that, is all I'm saying. But underneath of all of that, he is a 3 with a 4 wing. And he'll tell you that. Like, he knows he is. He's really proud of it. I'm going to tell this story because this is funny. You'll appreciate this. When I taught him the Enneagram for the very first time, I spent like 45 minutes. I did like a really in-depth thing, and I went through all of the 9 types, and he sat and he listened to every single one, although he knew immediately that he was a 3. Like, I didn't have to... I knew he was a 3 before I taught him. I was going to see if he could pick it out on his own, and he did. Like, I didn't have to tell him anything. Like, I just started on it, and he was like, "Oh, this is me." Anyway, so I went through this whole 45-minute, like, Enneagram presentation, and I got to the end of it, and as only a 3 would say, he kind of sat there, and he was thinking about it, and he summarized it to me like this. He said, "So basically what you're saying is there's like 9 different personality types in the whole world, and I got the best one." And he was like so serious about it. And I was like, no, it's not what I'm saying, but okay, if that's what you took, then that's what you took. It's really not the best one, but okay. So anyways, but I ended up like laughing about it, like after the fact. I didn't laugh at him, but when he left, I was like laughing so hard because, listen, guys, only a 3 on the Enneagram would have that thought, okay? It was hilarious. There's 9 personality types, and I got the best one. Okay. Anyways, we need to move on. Pull my app back up here. Okay. Sensitive to the feelings of others, yes. More generous with their time and resources, and they often focus on helping others in their professional and personal lives. I did just say that. I basically just kind of said all of that. I summed it up. I actually am going to go back to the first thing, which was sensitive to the feelings of others. I will say this. 3s with a 2 wing, when they're communicating with other people, they tend to be more aware of the nuances that would indicate that other people have been hurt by what they've said or are not appreciating what they're saying, they don't like it, blah, 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 etc., etc. 3s with a 4 wing, they just kind of talk and do what they're going to do and say what they're going to say, and they're just kind of going through life, bulldozing people over, and then it's like later they learn that somebody was hurt by what they said or somebody didn't like what they said or whatever, and they're surprised by that. They're like, "Oh, I didn't even realize I did that." Now, a 3 is a 3 is a 3. A 3 with a 2 wing will still bulldoze you over. but they're probably going to be a little bit more aware of the fact that they're bulldozing you. They're probably not going to apologize for it right then. They're probably going to finish what they're doing, because remember, these are very goal-oriented people, so they're probably just going to keep pushing right on through to the goal to complete what they want to complete. But a 3 with a 2 wing is more apt to come back and then apologize afterwards if they feel that there's been any slight or any, overstepping of boundaries or any inappropriateness that's occurred. 3s with a 4 wing, they just bulldoze. They just bulldoze. They just keep right on going. You have to tell them. So I had a supervisor, not the job that I have now, but at the last job that I used to have, my supervisor was a 3 with a 4 wing. I loved him. He was so awesome. He really was. He was, up until today, the job I have now, the supervisor that I have right now is the best supervisor I've ever had. But prior to this job, had you asked me at that point, like, who's the best supervisor you've ever had at any job? This guy, he was it. He was awesome. I loved him. He was a 3 with a 4 wing. And he would constantly, when we met, like, one-on-one, if we were doing, like, a group meeting or a board meeting or anything at all, he was always, like, just, like, boom, 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 like, knocking stuff out one thing at a time. You could just see the gears in his head just turning. He had all of these things that he wanted to accomplish. He was also an ENTP, so that should explain some of it, too, for those of you who know Myers-Briggs. So he had all of these ideas in his head of things that he wanted to see happen, all of these possibilities that he wanted to bring to fruition, and he was, like, focused on that. His identity was in his ability to create these fantastic new avenues for company growth. And he saw the people that worked at the company, me and other people, as tools to use to see these ideas come to fruition. And, I mean, there's really nothing wrong with that, technically. It's a little bit of an impersonal view, but he is our supervisor, and his job is to appropriate us in such a way that we're doing what he believes that we need to do in order to build the company. I mean, that's a job, right? I mean, it's called a job. So you really can't be too upset about it. The manner with which he approached us was very impersonal, but the point is, he would bulldoze over so many people. We had so many people on our team that would always say, well, he was so hurtful to me, and he said this, and he said that, and I don't mind what he said, it's how he said it, and he didn't even consider my feelings, he didn't ask my opinion, he's just really rude, he just does all the stuff that he thinks is a good idea, and he doesn't ask anybody, and it's really inconvenient for the rest of us. And that's, in some cases, that was true, but we had a lot of people on the team that were complaining about that. And I was trying to explain, some of them got it, some of them didn't, but I was trying to explain, this guy is a 3 with a 4 wing. This is what he does. He's also an ENTP. This man is bulldozing and has no idea that he's bulldozing. He is so high right now on goal achievement, goal achievement, goal achievement, and every time he achieves one, he gets that much more energy to pound even harder on the next one. It has not occurred to him, even for a millisecond, that human beings who have feelings are involved in this. He comes out and dishes all this stuff out to you and says, do this, have it done by here, bye, because you're just a tool, you're another function that can be used to complete the idea, right? So anyways, he was just a really good example of what I'm talking about, like the 3 with 4 bulldozing over people and not really being aware that they're doing it, versus a 3 with a 2 wing who, again, still bulldozing. They're going to keep going with the bulldozing, but they'll go back if they feel like they've burned bridges or trampled over people, and they'll kind of just do their little check to make sure that everybody's okay. That is the tendency there. So those are just some examples there. So when we're talking about like the sensitivity to feelings, that's like a really good example difference between 3 with 4 and 3 with 2. And even my brother-in-law in that respect is the same way. Like, because he's a 3 with a 4 wing, he does the same thing. He's an INTP, so his energy is very, very reserved. It's really weird because for being an aggressive type on the Enneagram, his energy in a room is, minimal. Usually, when we have like family get-togethers and everybody's there and we've got all of these varieties of different personalities in there, his is almost always one of the smallest energies in the room, even though he's a 3 on the Enneagram. And again, that comes because he's an INTP. So he really kind of collects his energy for himself. There's still the aggression there, but his aggression is self-driven, not idea-driven. Not change my environment, not change my world, change my life. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense. I may have to do like an ENTP versus INTP video, but now I think maybe I won't be so good at describing it. So I don't know. I'll think about it. That'll be ways down the line anyway. But the point is, he's a really good example of that, because he will, even though he keeps his energy to himself, his thing, and this is again largely because he's an INTP, if he hears somebody say something that's incorrect, again, this is like a dominant TI function, if he hears you say something that's inaccurate, or like if he hears you give like a thought process of logic that's stupid, that he cannot piece together, if he can't figure out how you got all of that together to get the conclusion that you got, I mean, that right there, he comes right out of his shell, zero problems. He will like inject himself into that conversation, and he will correct you, and you're completely wrong, and this is why you're wrong. And he says like those exact words, and then he'll go off on this diatribe as to why you're wrong, and you know, the TI starts going, and he's giving you this long, monotonous thing about all of the facts that he knows, and how we can put all those together and come to this logical conclusion, and why are you too stupid to see that, kind of a thing. And it's so funny because I said to him one day, I said, and he's done it to me, and it's hurt my feelings sometimes, but I could tell, and I knew that he was a 3 with a 4 wing, so I knew that he had no idea he was doing it, so it wasn't an intentional thing. So I came to him one day and I said, everything that you said was right, and I see now that I was wrong, and I didn't realize it until you pointed it out, and you did a great job of pointing it out. But the manner in which you addressed me was really, really hurtful. It made me feel like I was stupid, and I'm not stupid. I just don't see things the way you see them. So I don't deserve to be spoken to in that manner. Anyways, so he was like, he felt so bad. Like, I almost felt bad that I told him, because like, he, like, just, empathy is not something we see from him very often. You know, I mean, his FE is like inferior over here. It's down here on the end, just hardly not doing anything at all, okay? It's hibernating half the time, okay? So I almost felt like terrible, because his little extroverted feeling function was kind of pricked a little bit, and he felt so bad. And he told me he had no idea that when he talked to people like that, that he was coming across that way. And he even said to me, he was like, I talk to people like this all the time. Like, I wonder how many years of classmates, of coworkers, of professors in college, of family members, of friends, of strangers that I meet in other places. I wonder how many years of all of those people have I just been hurting, and I didn't even know I was hurting their feelings. I just thought I was helping them understand that their logic was stupid, which in his mind is something that should be highly valued. And to be fair, he's absolutely right. If your logic is stupid, it needs to be corrected. It needs to be corrected appropriately and at the right time. But that's one of the wonderful ways that God uses him, is he's made him so incredibly intelligent. You know, he's given him that dominant introverted thinking function. He knows what he knows. He's very factual. He's always taking in new data to build onto the information that he already knows. And then he really, really enjoys correcting other people. Granted, in his unhealthier moments, he enjoys correcting other people because it makes him look smarter and therefore makes him feel better. That's a form of competition for him, right? Because he's a 3. That's intellectual competition. It's which one of us has the best logic, which one of us has the most accurate facts, okay? So for him, that's the competitive field, right? He doesn't give a rat's ass how much money you have, if you drive a nicer car than him, if you are more prestigious and more well-known in some area or circle than him. He doesn't care. But when you open your mouth and you say something that he knows is factually incorrect, he is all over that. Like, he cannot even resist it. He has to just lunge on top of you and just completely tear your logic apart. And, you know, anyways, so, that's a little bit about just the sensitivity towards feelings between 3 with 2 and 3 with 4. You will not likely see that with 3 with 2, or at least if 3s with a 2 wing do choose to confront you about the illogical thought patterns that you have. They almost have like a really gentle way of doing it. They're still very firm, and they do still say what needs to be said, but they just kind of approach you with some kid gloves. Do you know what I mean? Again, Tyra Banks is a great example of that, America's Next Top Model, because she's got to confront those girls like pretty much almost on a daily basis, and the way that she does it is very firm, it's very matter of fact, but you can tell she's got the kid gloves on. It's like she's trying to be very gentle with the feelings at the same time. So, just some examples. Anyways, we're a little over 30 minutes now, and I do not like to go over 30 minutes. I actually think I pretty much covered everything this time, at least that was on this, this app. Oh, no, I didn't. There are a few other things, but I covered, like, a lot. I covered a whole lot. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it here, as usual. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments for me. If you have, just any comments. I'm always like loving to hear your feedback and your experiences, especially if you are a 3 with a 2 wing or a 3 with a 4 wing, or even if you're not and you just know someone who is, I would love to understand your interactions with them. I'm always looking for that. If you have requests, please put the requests in the comment section. I've gotten so many requests now that they're overwhelming the amount of time that I have to make videos. So what I've started to do is just compile a list of all of the requests for different types of videos that I'm getting. And it's going to take time. I will get to all of them, but it will take time. So don't hesitate to ask for something specific. Or if you have a question and you just want me to use a video to answer your question, that's fine too. So, okay, so anyways, this is it. Thanks, as usual, for watching, and I'll be back later, and we'll talk about something different.